Hey, what's up, guys? It has been 2000 yugioh, your friendly neighborhood Yu-Gi-Oh superhero. I've got my coffee, and we're going to be talking about Red Eye's Dark Dragoon today. But before we get into that, I want to remind you guys that I have merch. So check out my Teespring in the links below. We got stickers, we've got matte face masks, and we've got t-shirts, all the goodies. So if you guys want to let everybody know that you're a trickster and you're part of my crew, you know, get some merch. It'd be greatly appreciated. It'll let me buy more stuff for the channel and better equipment and, you know, cards for deck profiles, etc. You know, all the good stuff. All right, now let's get into this. We're going to be talking about how to beat this card, and I know I'm going to go ahead and I want to go ahead before you get started. Some of these picks are shout outs to Simo. He already made a video about beating this card, but I wanted to expand even further on that and cover more cards and or slash combos that can get over this behemoth of a monster. This card has been infecting decks all over the all over the Yu-Gi-Oh space, especially online. My goodness. I am literally seeing this card played in everything but Red Eyes and Dark Magician. Which is where this card belongs, but unfortunately, Konami didn't have the foresight to figure out how to, you know, make sure this card didn't infect everything. Because in Dark Magician and Red Eyes, this card's pretty much, you know, fair and needed card. But unfortunately, it is become, thanks to the card Anaconda, the Predaplant Anaconda monster, this behemoth of a card, this thing's been splashed in everything. But, you know, that's not anything new. We've been experiencing that for a long time. Konami's been created, like, every good Link monster has basically just been something like Anaconda or Halka Brax, etc. So we're just gonna have to put up with it until Konami is done making their money. It is what it is. But we're gonna be going over getting rid of this card, and there's a few categories. Simo covered a lot of stuff that gets rid of this card. I want to go take it a step further and give you more options. So most of these cards are going to be fairly budget. Like the most expensive card I think I have on the list here is like $10. I did some research. I wanted to double check. Most of the cards you can find as commons and only have to pay, like, you know, anywhere from like 18 to, like, you know, cents, 18 cents to, like, you know, to like $1. Most of these you can find in low rarities. Most of these. There's going to be a few exceptions to the rule, but very few. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. First things first, we're going to go ahead and talk about the Preemptive Strike. No, this is not targeting the Anaconda. Everybody knows Effect Veiler, Imperm. These are the cards you're going to use to get rid of, you know, with Anacondas being used to summon this Dragoon. But the first card we're going to be going over that can actually be a Preemptive Strike is Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries. If you have Dragoon, you know, there you go. You can play Reaper, and even if you're playing a deck that can't even summon the thing, this isn't a bad option. Just, you know, but I also know that Dragoon is expensive, but if you're lucky enough to pull it out of a Mega 10, congratulations. And you can get this card for, like I said, I think the lowest I saw was like 18 cents. Now we're going to go back to Dragoon here for a second. We're going to talk, that was the one Preemptive Strike. All right, the rest of these cards are going to be assuming that your opponent has successfully got this behemoth out there. And a behemoth is a great description for this card. It's splashable, it's a negation, it's a destroyer, it burns, its attack can go to ridiculous heights, so we're going to be talking about all the ways you can get rid of it. So here's the thing. It can't be targeted and it can't be destroyed. These are the two, this combination of basically anything that also has an effect, effect negation is incredibly powerful and would be a boss monster in any deck with the combination of those three effects. All right? And this card on top of that effect negation is an Omni Negate. This card would see play if all it did was stop any one of the other kinds of cards. If it stopped spells and traps or monster effects, this card would still probably see this amount of play. Because it's just that powerful of a card. I mean, come on. We're talking about, you know, Crystal Wing with, you know, minus extra steps, essentially. But we're going to go ahead and get over the ways you're going to get over this. So first of all, this thing pops out at 3,000 attack, and then probably, in most cases, it's not going to get beyond 4. Most cases. So we're going to go ahead and go over getting... the first way that you're going to get over this thing is by battle. So, for example, we have Ultimate Conductor Tyranno, Ultimate Cephalon the Time Lord, and Moon Mirror Shield. Now, I know you're looking at the Time Lord. I'll explain. Don't worry, guys. It's just an example of a big monster. The idea here is this is just kind of representing an easily summoned big monster. Obviously, it's going to depend on the deck, but like you could replace this with Blue Eyes Alternative Dragon or a Danger monster like Danger Bigfoot. As an example, basically the point is you want to get a big monster on the field. And then, of course, with cards like Moon Mirror Shield, this is another thing. This is just representing attack modifiers that are going to let you get over it. In the case of using attack modifiers, you are going to want to bait that negate. You're going to want to find another card that they're going to find threatening. It doesn't have to necessarily be threatening to it has to be threatening to probably their board as a whole. Otherwise, they're not going to waste the negate, or they're going to think that they're taking away too much advantage from you. Those are the situations you're going to want to present where these cards are going to be viable options. With the reason why Tyranno is in here is because dinosaurs have a really good matchup against especially a monster like this, because our boss monster is naturally bigger than this, and of course we also have a searchable out. Multiple searchable outs, actually, but we'll get into that. But for the other two parts of this is the beating it over in battle strategy. So if you have boss monsters that you can easily summon, they're going to be naturally bigger than this card, or if you're willing to sacrifice, like I said in the example I gave you with Blue Eyes Alternative or a Danger, if you're willing to, suicide hit, it is what it is. And then, of course, like Moon Mirror Shield, Honesty Neos, these are all attack modifying monsters or cards, that are going to be able to get over it. But like I said, you want to bait the negate first. So play something else that they have to negate to maybe protect the rest of their board, and then you can play these cards and beat over them. All right, the next step is going to be the next type of card that you're going to want to use to get over this kind of card is you're going to want non-targeting effect negation or pseudo effect negation. And I'm going to get into that as we go. So, the next step to beating this card is effect negation. These are cards like Destiny Hero. Plasma is a prime example. We also have Dark Ruler No More. This is the most expensive card on my list. Skill Drain. And then, of course, we have Memory Loss. And, of course, the pseudos are Grave of the Super Ancient Organism and Majesty's Fiend. So, let's go ahead and go over these. Alright, so first of all, Plasma, Dark Ruler No More, Skill Drain, these cards don't target. You can also chain them to, in the case of the trap cards, you can chain them to effects that they want to negate. But these cards also require some setup, so that's why these are going to be more of like side cards than they are going to be main deck cards. But if you're playing heroes, this is your natural out to Dragoon, because you guys know that you can throw just the way the hero deck has evolved now, it's basically a hero spam deck. So basically it's like, okay, here's 18 heroes, go ahead, pick which one you want to negate, and then I'm going to make Plasma and I'm going to steal your Dragoon, because once his effects are all negated, like in the case of Plasma or Skill Drain, now you can target him, take him, destroy him, whatever. In the case of Majesty's Fiend, you're making it to where he can't activate his effects. So if you Cyber Dragon plus this plus Moon Mirror, you win in that fight, as an example. Basically, if you manage to summon this card and then you activate, an attack modifier of some kind to make this guy bigger than Dragoon, well, Dragoon can't negate anything because he can't activate in the first place. Dark Ruler No More, I know this one was on CMOs, but I felt I couldn't make this video without having to mention it. It's kind of the end-all be-all of board-breaking spells. But don't worry, there are a budget options we're going to get to later. Skill Drain, it doesn't, if you actually resolve Skill Drain, his effects are negated. He's just a big spellcaster. He might as well be a vanilla monster, but that's all of them. And then, of course, we got Grave of the Super Ancient Organism. Basically, all level 6 or higher monsters in the field cannot declare an attack nor activate their effects. So if you're playing an Xyz-based deck or a Link-based deck, congratulations, I just gave you a trap card you can side in, especially if you know you're going first. And you can basically nip him in the bud before he gets in there. Just wait for them to activate Anaconda to summon and go, okay, flip, and then now they gotta summon him, but he can't do anything. He's just a big paperweight. Alright, and then we got memory loss. Now, this one's one of the... is come as a common, and I know you guys are like, what the hell? This was the poor man's breakthrough skill back in the day. Basically, you're gonna combo this card with another card. So, for example, let's say you activate, like, Pot of Desires or something, and they're like, oh, well, I don't want you to go +1, so negate, and then you flip up your memory loss. This will turn the Dragoon to defense position and negate the negate effect. Now, this won't mean that this card doesn't target. That's kind of the point of it, is like, okay, I can stop him from stopping me. This card will take some setup, though. That's just to give you some fair warning. But Dragoon is going to be a lot easier to deal with if he's in defense mode. All right, the next segment of this video that we want to talk about for getting rid of Dragoon is we're going to talk about tributing. This is, now I'm going to give you some examples of this. And Nibiru, you could include Nibiru in this, assuming you've baited that negate. Just, you know, then you could go, okay, Nibiru. But we're going to go with kaijus mostly, or kaiju-esque monsters, like Santa Claus. Also, you can, if they have more than one monster in the field, you can also, if you know that they're going probably to go that route, you can also play things like Lava Golem and a Winged Dragon Raw Spear mode. Also in the same vein of negating, or maybe even baiting a negate, if you will. Depending on the deck you're playing, you could also use cards like Stormforth, Soul Exchange, or Layer of Darkness combos. If you're playing Monarchs, if you're playing Layer of Darkness, or Infernoid, or anything, I mean, getting rid of... This is basically a primary way to get rid of this card, because let's face it, that non-targeting is going to be a pain in the ass, and luckily these tribute effects don't necessarily have to target. I think this one might, but okay, this one does, excuse me. Okay, but Stormforth doesn't. Soul Exchange was just trying to be an example, my bad. And then, of course, Layer of Darkness combos. It doesn't even matter what kind of deck you're playing. Like I said, Infernoids was the one that came to my mind, but, you know, you could also just be playing Layer of Darkness, or in my case, Layer of Dark Magicians, because I don't have, you know, the walking pain in the ass that is Dragoon, so I've got to find other ways to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Also, that deck really gives Lich the one, too. Anyway, the next thing that we're going to have is non-targeting removal. So if you're playing Cyber Dragons, Cyber Eltanin is a good example of this card. Basically, if you probably wanted to, again, bait the negate. And then you also, and most of these cards in this one, you're going to have to do that. That's just, it is what it is. The good news is most of the decks that will be playing these monsters, like, this isn't their only way to get rid of the card. And the next one is Eater of Millions. This one's another one I saw in Simo's video. But I did want to go a step further, and not just, this is one of the better options. So I'm going to show you some lackluster ones here in a minute. And admittedly, these are lackluster, but, you know, and some of these are old school. Like, I mean old school. Like, I am not kidding how old these cards are. That being said, Eater of Millions is a good one. Also in the deck that it's used in, if you have to, basically, because the deck that it's played in is most likely the Grand Maju deck. The good news is you have a lot of outs to Dragoon. Some of the subpar stuff is, we're going to go old school. We're talking like DDD Assailant, DDD Warrior Lady, and DD Warrior. These cards typically are all basically they're the battle equivalent. And they don't stay on the field. So, but worst case scenario, hey, they'll get rid of him. Especially, like I said, if you've baited the negate. And in the same vein, and not destroying, we have Neospatian Grand Mole. Now we're gonna go into some trap cards and spells that are in the same vein as this. And one of the cards that we're doing for non-target, actually, like, I meant to show this one later. Forbidden Apocrypha is one. Basically, if you have a fusion monster of your own on the field, you can flip this up, and then of course everybody's got to send all their fusions. This doesn't destroy, this is a send. So basically this will get rid of Dragoon, again in the same vein as baiting the negate. Super Poly, this is one of the cards that will not, and I think this one was also in Simo's video, but there's a lot of options for fusion monsters. Obviously there's the Starving Venom. If you can throw dark monsters in the field of your own, you can easily just, you know, even make the bigger Predaplant Dragon that's a monster effect negator, Dragostapelia. I couldn't remember his name. If you throw him out there. And then, of course, another card you can throw at them this is a card you should pick up anyway and just kind of have around, because this card kind of comes in and out of play. Herald of the Abyss. This card doesn't target. Now, don't do this if they're playing it in an actual Dark Magician deck or a Dark Spellcaster type deck. If they are playing Dark Spellcasters, do not play this card. Alright, if they are using Dragoon in its actual intended deck, this card will not help you. But if they are playing it in anything else, basically, this is going to help, because basically you declare the type and the attribute, you call Dark Spellcaster, and remember, he's a spellcaster, he's not a dragon, so remember that. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to use Herald of the Abyss, and you're going to call Dark Spellcaster, and since he's the only one, he'll have to go. Now, you'll probably, like I said, you'll want to bait the Negate again, but this is also a good card to bait the Negate if you have other cards that you want to make sure go off. And then, of course, the battle ones, these are like in the same vein as the DD Warriors that I showed you earlier. You're going to want to bait the Negate, and most likely if you're relying on these two cards, you're probably, and they're not going to be the most effective, but if they go off, they will work. They will bounce the card off the field, but, you know, just make sure that they can actually pull this off. All right, the next one that we're going to go with is putting him face down to make him vulnerable to the things he normally isn't. If you put him face down, these are cards like Jack Frost or Quaking Mirror Force. These two cards basically are going to be used as your... these are the battle ones. I'm showing you them because they're not the ones that are likely going to go off. But I am going to show them to you because it could work. And I wanted you guys to know what all of your options are, depending on the deck that you're playing. And that's the point of this video, ultimately, is to show you as many options as possible. But the cards that you're likely going to be able to use them with is Swords of Concealing Light and Book of Eclipse. Basically, these cards are going to be the cards that you're going to use because they don't target. They will put them face down, but you got to make sure with Book of Eclipse that you get rid of him that turn, or he's gonna flip back up, be back at full power, and also you are going to give your opponent extra cards, and you don't want to do that. So you want to get rid of him quickly that round. But basically, by putting him face down, he loses his ability to protect himself. And that's a big thing. Now we're going to go over to some extra deck cards that can kind of do this. Now the ones I'm going to show you, this one first, is because this is another one I think I saw Simo mention, was Dingirsu. I'm going to show you some other ones. So one of the cards that you can also use is Makaba. Especially if you've managed to get him out there and you make him, and he goes for a negation effect, you can negate his negate, and then now you've gotten rid of the card because he doesn't destroy and he doesn't target. That's another option. Also, if you use him, you can also use Invoke the Alistair the Invoker to make him bigger than him. So, just another, there you go, Invoke players, you're welcome. Alright, and then we got Phantom Fortress, and Enter Blatnir. You can banish him. This is a non-targeting banish. So, again, another bait than negate type card, which isn't quite as threatening for something like Dingirsu, but, you're going to have to figure out you're going to have to go that route. This one's in the same vein as the DD Warriors and the Neospatian Grand Mole. Basically, this is Sky Cavalry Centaura. So basically, if you're playing anything that plays level 2 monsters, frogs, the Melfi deck, for example, this is a card you can use, especially if you can debate the negate. And then, of course, we also have the same with the bouncing ability. This one doesn't target, and it bounces. So basically, this is like Grand Mole, only better. If they're dumb enough to put it in the zone that this card points to, this one's a big if. I'm gonna let you guys know that right off the bat. This is a big if. There's no guarantee that they're gonna put that in the zones. So play this card with caution if you're gonna play it. But it is an option. It will work. And it is something that they won't see playing. They won't see coming. You know what I meant to say. And then the last card I have on the list of cards that can kind of get around this card, and I think people have mentioned this before, is Borolo Dragon. Because basically you can lower his attack, and then you can just take him, and you don't have to worry about the negate at that point because they can't chain anyway. There you go, guys. This is all the cards I came up with. I just wanted to kind of give you some more examples of ways to get over this monster. This card has basically infected the game. That's why I feel like this card alone kind of warranted its own video. Yeah, you're going to see this card in a lot of decks, especially online. I know I've been seeing it in everything, and I mean everything. Like, I have seen it in Madolches, I've seen it in Photons, I have seen it in... Oh my god, it's like... the meme with Forrest Gump, shrimp and potatoes, shrimp salad, shrimp sandwich. It's like that with Dragoon. It's like Dragoon Tunes, Dragoon Photons, Dragoon Melfies, Dragoon Frogs. That's literally... Long story short, guys, I hope this video helped you. I know this is probably a little bit one of my longer videos, but I wanted to make sure I covered as many kind of cards I could get around this card as possible. I probably didn't need to show as many examples as I did, but I just, you know, I couldn't help but feel like this was a card that's kind of infecting the game right now, and I figured you guys wanted to know every possible route you could take to probably get rid of this card, and I think I've well covered that. Anyway, guys, if you're new to the Ben 10,000 of yugioh channel, consider subscribing. I've seen a handful of new guys around here, and I'm happy to have you. And guys, my tricksters, I am your friendly neighborhood Yu-Gi-Oh superhero, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.